This coat pocket sized transistor radio is the Sylvania model TH-16. It's an 8 transistor radio, and it was introduced around 1962. The quality had really started to go out of American-made transistor radios by this point, but this particular set is pretty well made, and it's a solid performer. It's also an interesting looking radio. I wouldn't say it's an iconic radio or anything, but the styling is interesting at the very least. Alright, let's hear it play. It has gear reduction tuning with a substantial gearing ratio, actually. You can see how little the pointer moves relative to how much I'm turning the dial. It does make tuning in distant stations easier, though.
Living that job, and you follow the plan of administering 100 million vaccines in 100 states.
In an understanding culture where it can extend, maybe even a percent order to let everybody know that he's in the game. So
is now being investigated for a
little hard to hear over that noise. I'm recording this video in the late afternoon, so the distance stations are just starting to come in, and it's doing a really good job of pulling those in, actually.
Street of yell and scream in protest in a town square or any public
I hope that some of the news will take this seriously. Made before, which is kind of cute, but I don't know, it may or may not have application here, and that is the classic definition of a crash program, which is getting 9 women pregnant in hopes of producing a baby in 1 month. How effectively can you produce something like this quickly?
The rattling is from the battery cover.
Well, you know, these two vaccines that were authorized have been authorized with unprecedented speed. Typically,
now online live Thursday, January 21st or Saturday, January 23rd.
I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. 1,000 online reviews averaging 4.7 stars.
I guess that's good. Alright, that's about it for stations. See, it takes a while to get from one end of the band to the other. That's honestly necessary with how sensitive this radio is. Sensitive and selective. This radio can genuinely compete with some of the offerings from Zenith and others in that regard. I'm quite impressed with this one. Some of Sylvania's other radios from the early to mid 1960s are definitely not stellar performers, so this one stands out in a positive way. It's got a adjustable kickstand. You can fold it up to use it as a handle, or fold it down like this to stand the radio upright, or flatten it out to lay the radio down like that. Here's the battery compartment. I shoved a paper towel in there to reduce the rattling. I could perhaps use a thicker roll of paper towel, though, to cut it down more. Without that in there, this really rattles. It's annoying. Do you hear that rattling? When I hold it in place, it stops. This radio has quite a bit of audio power as well, which is very nice. Alright. As you can see, this radio takes 2 9-volt batteries in a very unusual arrangement. I'm not aware of any other coat pocket sets that do something like this. The 2 batteries are in parallel, not in series, so it runs off of 9 volts, and you can run it off just one of these batteries with, a suitable spacer of paper towels or newspaper or something like that to, hold the battery in place. I think this cabinet was designed around a 4 AA cell holder. And other radios with similar cabinets from Sylvania have a 4 AA cell holder in them. You can see this would fit in there nicely. You can see I've got Rayovac batteries here. Apparently Rayovac got bought out recently and their batteries are no longer made in the USA. These ones were made in Malaysia. We'll have to see if the quality is up to the level of the older Rayovac batteries. There's the model label down in there. It says Sylvania model TH-16. It's a little worn and hard to read. You can see it says to use 2 Everready number, I believe, 216 batteries or equivalent. Manufactured by Sylvania Home Electronics, a division of Sylvania Electric Products Inc., Batavia, New York, printed in USA. This is an American-made radio. I'm going to take out these 2 screws and take off the back cover for you guys so you can see the insides. You also have to pull off the volume dial to take off the front cover. I can't completely remove the front cover because the speaker is attached to it, and it's actually clipped on there with these little speed clip type things. You have to be careful removing those because it can break off the posts that they're on. When I repaired this thing, I just desoldered the connections there and recapped it and then reattached them. Now you'll notice that there's actually no cover over the part of the tuning dial that protrudes, but you can't really tell that when the thing is assembled because that little aluminum piece covers part of this clear plastic here. It uses a full complement of Raytheon transistors, so those are American transistors as well. I've replaced all the electrolytic capacitors. There's a decent number of them in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. And then there's also a bunch of these, disc capacitors as well, like low voltage disc ones. Like 10 volts there. And there's a few others like that in here. There's a big one there. A 0.2 at 10 volts. Those do sometimes fail, but I haven't had to change any out in this radio. They only give themselves 1 volt of margin on those, at least for the ones that are, experiencing most of the full supply voltage. It's a really beefy tuning dial. Nicely made. There's the tuning capacitor. I may oil that before I put this back together. I feel like it could be a little bit smoother. Oh yeah, look at that old gunky oil. I think I just added fresh oil on top of the old oil. I'm going to clean that out a little better. There's only one little input transformer here. There's no output transformer. It's an output transformerless design. When I went to get out the schematic for this thing, I pulled out Sam's book number 23, which I leave out because there's the index in there and I can use it to find the correct book out of the ones I have packed away. But conveniently, the Sylvania model TH-16 just happens to be in the very highest numbered book that I have, number 23. It's the only Sylvania model in this book. So that's a stroke of luck. So there it is. There's the circuit board. Alright, there's the schematic. I guess these are Sylvania house part numbers. Anyway, here's the output stage. So there's that one transformer you saw there, the input transformer, going to these output transistors, and then it's coupled via this 100 microfarad cap to the speaker there. So they avoided putting in an output transformer, saving a little bit of cost. And it sounds pretty good, so they did a good job on saving money there. Unlike that prior 5-transistor radio I reviewed, that one was an example of excessive cost cutting. Although the transistors in this thing were American, the capacitors were all Japanese style ones. Maybe not so easy to tell from the tops. Actually, there's a few American style ones in this picture, like this one and this one. But these ones are the Japanese style, which is now really the standard. I think that's all there is to show for this one. I'm going to oil that tuning capacitor before I put this back together.